Alright, everyone. Hello and welcome to Fight for Blight. It's been such a long time. I believe this is session 36. Hey. This session 36, Direfrost. It's been almost a month since our last session, with all the holidays, birthdays, traveling, all that fun stuff. But very happy to get back into our D&D game. And especially while we get into some of the later parts of the Flight for Blight story. But before we do, go around the table, see how everyone's time off was before we get into tonight's game. Mivara, since leading the group, I feel that you should lead off the time off.
I mean, nothing too shocking. Just been working and spending time with family, celebrating the holidays. It's been really nice.
Nice. And then I do believe next in line is Crix, if my memory serves me correctly.
I am the current next in line.
How was your time off?
It was pretty good. I took a little bit of time off during the holidays and went and visited some family out of town. That was wonderful. Got to see some nieces and nephews I hadn't met before. So that was cool. Other than that, work's been exceptionally busy. So, yay, as always. And just living the dream.
It's busy in the winter months, means it's probably going to have a super busy summertime, too.
Oh, yeah.
Next, we have Creptilli. How was your few weeks, bud?
Oh, everything's been pretty good. Work's been busy on all the fronts, and got to chill with some fam for the holidays, so that was pretty nice. Yeah, got a surprise visit from my sister yesterday, so that was nice.
That's cool. And I guess youngest of the bunch at the current moment, with Adachi still MIA, just Stalin. How was your couple of weeks and holidays?
I'm sure I'm way younger than everybody, but yeah, Christmas was nice. Even though we did it virtually, we made it work. Got to see some of my fam for New Year's and almost blew them up with some faulty artillery, but everybody came out unscathed. Um, Other than that, not too much. I'm addicted to The Witcher now. Just started watching it on Netflix, and I got The Witcher 3. I'm kind of late, but I'm getting into it.
What season are you on?
Oh, just the first season, and I just downloaded the game, but I'm watching the show to kind of get like some background.
Nice. I mean, it's
Mm.
a good show. I don't think. I mean, I might have like played it a little bit like at my brother's house or something, but as far as I can remember, I don't think I've played uh, Witcher
Right. There's a
like
lot of
at all.
story behind it, so I'm playing catch up for sure.
I have heard it's a fun game, but I get addicted to a lot of other games, so I'll add it to the list, I guess.
True enough.
Well, I'm going to hold Mayvara to this. At the end of our last session, Mayvara, you had mentioned after we had a brief discussion as a group that you were going to go back and reread all the notes to make sure there's something that you didn't overlook. I'm going to say that you did it, because you're a responsible person.
I'm dead.
And you know exactly what needs to be recapped after having almost a month off. So, Mivara?
Well, while I'm honored that that is your perception of me, I have read most of the notes and like can't seem to like I haven't found what we're missing. I'll put it that way. It was helpful to like reread it, but I didn't feel like I found, like, oh, duh.
Well, then let me ask you this. Um, before we get into the recap, since we haven't done this in a good bit of time, not like to include like the time off, but since the last time I believe we've done this, how about we see what everyone's individual viewpoint is as the player? Well, I should say as your character. So we'll go in reverse order that we did for kind of catching up with everybody. So we'll start with Just Stalin. Let's see where your mindset's at, bud.
My mindset. Maybe it's because I've been low on my alcohol supply and I'm not used to being sober, but I feel lost, honestly. I'm kind of just going with the flow and trying to support my siblings to the best of my ability and to contribute my own perspective on things. But I'm honestly lost. I have a lot of new tools that I can't wait to try out, but at the same time, priority is eating right now, in addition to saving the whole country. So it's chaotic, inner turmoil, if that's how you say it.
Okay, so with the follow-up question, um, with that in mind, and the problems that were kind of discussed previously, I posted them in Discord not too long ago. One was kind of a joke, but the other two seemed to be the most common relatable ones between each of you. Um, but if there's any other ones that you can think of, what do you think the main problem to be fixed right now is?
Eating something besides mayo.
So food on the top of that list for sure. Cryptilly?
Yeah,
Same
survival.
questions. Mindset, and what do you think the first problem to be taken care of is?
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
I pressed the button in the wrong spot.
I was like, oh, something happened. Should disconnect?
Yeah. But yeah, Creep Tilly's a little upset right now. Mainly because she feels like she has a lot of responsibility in her brothers being missing. Like she didn't do her job good enough to protect the family. Um, but like that's where she is right now, so she's kind of losing it. But as far as direction on like where we should, what we should be doing, it's more so she's always going to follow whoever's in lead. And I think we've seen everything that we have as options. So she'll just continue to say, yeah, whatever you want to do. But we have all of these things. And like thinking about the fog, the army that might be approaching Blight, um, or going to our nearest relatives because it hasn't chased us. So we don't know what the state of anything else outside of us is right now. Um, so making sure that we can either get some type of contact um, with other people and see what's going on, but also like the priority list is going to be finding um, either of the brothers and making sure our kingdom is fine. So if they do have somewhere to come home, like so that they do have somewhere to come home to. But that's it.
Nice. Crix, same questions. And Mayvara, you're up next, so start thinking.
Crix feels like he's at rock bottom right now. The losses are really weighing on him, and in a lot of ways, he kind of feels abandoned by the kingdom that he's trying to protect and save. Everywhere we've tried to go, they were allies, and now they're not our allies, and he just doesn't know where to turn or what to do. He feels rudderless at the moment, and he's just looking for purpose.
And what do you feel is the main problem to be fixed?
I think first and foremost, we need to find some allies, somebody that we can lean on because we're falling apart by ourselves.
Alright. Mayvara? Mindset and problem.
Yeah, I think mindset is Mayvara is overwhelmed definitely by grief and a sense of kind of being overwhelmed by the like odds against us. It seems like a lot of the options we have of like things we know that are problems also seem like it'd be certain death to like try to go after them. But and then like dealing with the loss with like her twin being missing, not to mention Adashi, but dealing with the fact that Vieric is gone, seemingly like left of his own accord. So she's kind of angry with him and putting her in a position that she doesn't want and like doesn't enjoy being in and doesn't feel prepared for. Um, she's trying to just like kind of make decisions where it's like logical or just when we are sort of like at an impasse, but uh mostly we mostly she like likes to hear from everybody, likes to hear from all of her siblings, to make sure she's not like missing anything. And yeah. And then what I think the main like or the main problem is, I agree with what folks have said about making contact and seeing like who like I we know that there's like hordes of enemies out there. So then the question is who uh who can we trust? Who can we work with? Who can um give us shelter and some food and potentially supplies in the future?
Okay. I think those are all very, very valid points. I think that for each of your characters' mindsets, I mean, being kind of completely lost, feeling down with losing the heir to the throne, and then also the youngest of your siblings, makes a lot of sense. So, I mean, real no like argument on that side for me. Um, I guess the only thing I would like to add into that is, well, I guess it's just more of a question, I should say. Um, with all of that in mind, with the mindset and everything, you guys kind of like touched on a lot of things that have obviously happened throughout our story thus far, and kind of made for a fairly nice recap. I mean, not so much, I guess, in particular details, but kind of getting those who may be jumping in really late into the story kind of up to speed. But if each of you would like to do a recap, feel free. I mean, not each of you, of course, but if you'd like to do a recap as the party, feel free. If not, I will go ahead and award you some bonus XP for answering those couple questions, and then I will give a bit of a recap.
From what I remember in the last session we had, we attempted to take refuge at 2 different cities and were rejected from both. And that
Trying to make your way into North Point, being rejected by immediate forms of combat, and then when making your way to Direfrost, kind of proclaiming who you all are, and then them telling you if you approach any farther, then you will be met with force.
yes, which has led us to believe there may be some sort of rebellion going on along with all of our other issues, which has exacerbated our starving to death issue since we haven't been able to resupply in quite some time, and hunting has been not the most effective thing as of late.
And please correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't we kind of unlock or unleash Yazin, her spirit? I think that happened last time. And I know I have
That's
her
correct.
one of her swords, and I think I kind of disconnected our ability to speak with some of our other ancestors, or at least weaken our ability to do so.
Yeah, she may have been sealed for some reason, but we acted kind of impulsively and
As
released her
always.
spirit, and that may have damaged us because there could be some sort of lineageal feud between Yazan and the other of our ancestors as to who the rightful rulers of Blight are. Or not Blight, but the whole continent.
Yep.
Probably didn't make things better.
You're welcome.
What's done is done.
Nothing that can't be fixed, right?
That's optimism.
Yeah, so that was a pretty good combination of the last two sessions. We did have quite a bit of a break in between those. I think overall in the past maybe close to 2 months we've had 2 sessions because of the holidays. That was definitely the main issues. Well, I shouldn't necessarily say issues because they can or can't be issues, or they could not be issues as well. Um, to the main story arcs in those sessions.
We were also somewhat led to believe that Genesis is also not our allies at the moment, but they are also not the allies of Dragonfrost. I forget how we were told that, but we were basically told not to go there, but there was nothing for us there.
Might be some booze in the cellar. Or cellars.
As said before, a long time ago, the um, sorry, the town that you're speaking of, Genesis, makes a lot of ale.
But we need a lot more than ale right now, unfortunately.
Who needs food when you got booze?
Hungry people.
Good point. Anything else that any of you would like to add before getting into tonight's game?
Nah, I got nothing.
Alright. So as we continue our story on a date still unknown to each of you, as time seemed to have elapsed quite quickly ever since leaving Vivek's tomb. As each of you stay out of range but are still able to shout to the guards of Direfrost. Looking upon the tower wall, you see Lilara hanging by her neck. Each of you assume she already is dead before meeting a more gruesome fate. But you each had begun to have quite a discussion about which exact problem needing to be fixed first. Briefly touching on the giants in the mountains with the possibility of psyllium being up there as well. The need for supplies, food, and possibly even a safe place to rest. The sun is just a couple of hours away from setting towards the west as the wind picks up pace, bringing the icy air to each of your locations. While pondering what to do or where to possibly even go, you begin to feel ties breaking, like strands of bonds beginning to fray. Only the slight howl of the wind, the panting of the dogs, and your thoughts seem persistent. And with that, the floor is yours. So what each of you do?
Quick question. What do we know about Belkarth to the south? Our common knowledge.
Well, as you stated, Belkarth is in the south. Directly south of Direfrost, Abba is overseeing this coastal village since his father, Abe, had passed away. Abba is, you would know, is to become the next ruler of the village in the short future. Roughly around the same age as each of you, you know that he is just waiting for your father to give him the approval to be the speaker of this small town. Being along the coast, you know that they have a decent amount of shellfish for trade: crab, lobster, oysters, and other sorts of fish, cod, and salmon.
So I hear seafood and possibly a bit more sun than what we're accustomed to in the north.
More
That may be an
importantly,
option.
I heard small town, which means the politics might be slightly, well, more in our favor, especially if we keep our identities concealed. We may be able to find some refuge there in the short term and
Yeah, they
orient
seem a bit
ourselves.
isolated, so
Either way, the sun's going to set in a few hours. We do need to move away from Direfrost and move somewhere to make camp for the night.
What about Bergamo? What do we know about that town?
Baragama?
Yeah.
Baragama, south of Gnesis, is a very tiny village in the Barrow Forest, where the village actually gets their name. Overseen by a barbarianish slight druid, Ankara. This village is primarily dependent on logging and using trees for anything from furniture to weapons. As this village is in the forest, they have become slightly cut off from the rest of Zidane. Meaning, you know them to be a bit more primitive in their just way of life. Um, well, I guess from your point of view, maybe even something a little bit more peaceful. They depend a lot on like hunting and using the resources of the land versus a lot of trade.
Nice.
Yes, I was putting it in a nicer way, Crix.
Perhaps we should head south, see if we can find shelter and food.
That seems like a wise option to me. And I would recommend that we conceal our identities as much as possible for the foreseeable future.
Agreed. Let's think of our new names on the way. Won't people know? Won't they recognize us because of our dog sleds?
Outside of the larger settlements, they shouldn't even know that these things have been invented. They would just be oddities. We are the pioneers of them. This is literally their prototypes.
yeah, so we're going to be art regardless, whoever sees these. So, hmm.
What do you say, sister?
Oh, let's go. I'm not sure what we'll find there. but we can go.
It can't be any worse than here.
Right. At least if they try to kill us, they'll have less people and tools to do so. Mush.
All right, so go ahead and draw
South it
me
is.
a path of which way you're going.
I think it makes sense to just get away from Direfrost relatively quickly.
I'd almost say just take the road down south towards Belgard for now.
Alright, let's hit it.
All right. So, taking just a bit of time getting to the crossroads, you see the road heading off towards the southeast, and a bit of snows cover the area with the wind picking up. It's knocking down the loose snow from the snowbanks, beginning to make the road a bit more hard to transverse. However, for each of you, this is actually perfect. The only downside at the moment is the amount of distance you're able to travel while heading south before the sun is beginning to set, knowing the time to set camp is very near.
Should we retreat a little bit into the woods to make camp for the night?
Definitely all for cover, and it doesn't appear to be too far away.
Yeah, sleeping on the road would be probably a bad idea.
We have no friends.
Agreed.
Sorry. Hopefully, I can scrounge up some meat in the forest.
And Creep Tilly will just hold up her jug. And if not,
Can you give me a Constitution saving throw, please?
who me?
Everyone. Tilly, as you hold up the jug and say, indicating that there's always more mayonnaise to eat, you feel your stomach kind of turn as you mention this. It's been giving some sustenance, but it's definitely making you feel quite ill at just the thought of having to eat more.
Seems about right.
Mayvara, as the others set up camp, you're going to make your way a bit farther into the Barrett Forest in hopes to find some things to eat.
Yep, and I'm gonna command Nyx and Kitty to hunt. Hopefully they don't get too far away, so that at least hopefully they can also get some food for themselves.
Okay, so you're going to let them go out and be natural predators.
Yeah.
On their own. Alright, so go ahead and roll me a survival check, and then also roll me a D100. I'm not sure if it'll matter, but you are alone at this point, so can you give me the survival check at advantage? Okay. Got a bad roll out of the way for you, so you're welcome. Alright. Ivara, as you're making your way into the forest, you begin to see tracks. Fairly large paw prints in the ground. You can see that there's maybe 2-3 inch talons that pierce into the frozen tundra below. The paws may be slightly small for this creature. However, its weight is pretty decent size.
I should be able to tell, right?
You're pretty sure it's a bear.
Okay. I'd like to pull out my bow and continue tracking it. Try to hunt it down.
Okay. Well, following the footprints, you make your way into the forest. As the trees become a bit thicker, you find a little bit of a clearing. Peeking around, your hair begins to blow just across your face as you see a large white bear trudging through the forest. See it stop near a tree just out of like a perfect shot. You're going to need to move just a tad bit more as it seems to be nuzzling its snout into the ground. Perhaps trying to uncover some berries or insects to eat.
I'm gonna knock the bow, Silver's longbow of glance, as I try to make the most minimal movement I need to get a shot. While trying to remain stealthy, of course.
Alright, give me a stealth check. Okay, as you're making your way up, it still seems pretty preoccupied with what it's doing. Your bow's knocked. You have a good shot.
I take it.
Alright, go ahead and roll me your attack roll with advantage, please. .25's a hit as it strikes the hind end of this polar bear. It lets out a pretty deep groan as it turns, looking for where that just came from. Go ahead and roll me initiative. And roll me damage. So far, 7 piercing.
I'm just now in a kind of worried way, wondering if I may have made a mistake.
I'm starting to have really weird flashbacks to Finn right now. Except for one of these is a hit.
And then this is for the fire damage from Silver's bow.
Got it. So 13 overall.
Initiative.
Alright, and if I'm not mistaken, your bow is 320 for the range for a longbow. Can't remember the exact stats.
It's 600 actually. 600 feet.
And then I'm gonna roll this. You're gonna be cut down by more than half. You're roughly about 200 foot away with this shot. And now I will need a stealth check at disadvantage. Got your initiative.
Whoops. Did it twice.
As the bear lets out the growl, it turns, kind of flailing about for a moment before you see it kind of sniff the air. As the wind begins to shift, you feel the wind at your back. Your scent is being carried towards the polar bear, and the polar bear begins to charge. At this point, you're about 200 foot away. So it's going to be a little bit before this creature can get to you. They're quick, but they're not that quick. So it's going to maneuver and get about 80 feet closer to you, putting you roughly at a range of 120 foot away. What do you do?
First I'm gonna cast Hunter's Mark on it. So whenever I hit it, I deal an extra 1d6 damage. Yep. I'm gonna shoot it again.
Good call with the hunter's mark. Let's land a good hit.
At advantage still or no?
No, not now.
Yeah.
It knows
Okay.
your location. It's coming. Fourteen's a hit. Nice. Starting to look pretty rough as the arrow sinks in. And then the flash of fire. As you see its white pelt beginning to be stained red. And some of the ends being burnt away, almost cauterizing the wounds instantly. And then another D6 from the fire.
Sorry, yeah, I was getting a phone call.
Ignore it. This is busy. Busy time. Nice. So that, excuse me, that's 15 overall. And it will begin to close the distance more, roughly about 40 foot away. It is looking rough. You see it beginning to limp with the 2 arrows that you've sunk in already, but it's beginning to close the gap a bit quicker than you may like.
Okay, I'm gonna cast Zephyr Strike on myself. So my movement won't provoke opportunity attacks, and once before the spell ends, I can give myself advantage on 1 weapon attack roll on my turn. Okay.
And an extra D8 damage.
Hell yeah. So I'm gonna cast it on myself, and then I'm going to freaking move. Wait, what's my movement? So Rusty, yeah, I'm gonna move like 30 feet back and hit it with the arrow. Hit it with another arrow.
All right, attack roll.
Huh?
Give me your attack roll. Ooh, a 30. That's a solid hit.
Damn. Damn.
Wow. I'm not sure if it's gonna live.
what I love to hear.
Go ahead. I mean, it's looking rough. Alright, maybe it will. You have one more D6 and a D8. Don't roll low. Nice. Anything else?
What is that? 22 points of damage?
It is.
Damn, that's crazy. No, that's it.
So as you release the arrow, it's maneuvering towards you. It gets about 20 foot away before it succumbs to its wounds and falls, kind of burrowing into the snow. You see it take one final breath. It's down.
Hell yeah. I approach it, try to like see how big it is.
It's fairly large. There's no way that you'd be able to carry this back. You're gonna need to spend maybe even close to an hour kind of dressing it and maneuvering it that way.
Okay. I whistle for the cats and I begin to just try to take off like skin and butcher like one of the back legs to take with me to camp. Because I believe, how much time is left before sunset?
About an hour.
And you said that's about how long I would take to butcher the whole thing?
Correct.
Okay, well then, I'll probably just take the 2 back legs and then pack it in snow and make my way back to camp.
So only taking back like one hind leg with you?
I think I want to do 2 hind legs if I have the time to feed the dogs, make sure everyone has plenty of food.
Yeah. You will notice that you're moving a bit slower. This will roughly add about 210, give or take, pounds of meat. Well, not all pounds of meat because, you know, the bone and everything included as well, you know. Again, give or take, but this is roughly adding 200 pounds plus to your inventory.
Okay. How long would I get back to camp before sunset?
It's gonna be close. And as you whistled, you don't see the cats anywhere near. Not sure if they're still out prowling. Maybe they just didn't even hear your call. But if you head back now with the weight that you're at, you're gonna be, from what you know, cutting it close.
Yeah, I'm gonna head back and try to whistle on my way back for the cats a couple more times.
Okay. And during this time, since, you know, May will be out for, roughly an hour or more, what are each of you doing as you're setting up your camp?
Well, I'll be setting up the tents, clearing out small brush from our area, digging a small fire pit, the normal kind of camp setup things that I do.
Yep. And I'll be tending to the dogs, making sure they're good. If after that little bit's done, I'd go out and shoot some necrotic energy, looking for some food.
Yeah, I'll definitely be tending the fire, and if anyone needs help with the tents, I'll do that. A bit of multitasking. While gathering firewood, I'll keep an eye out for like berries or anything of that nature that's edible.
All right.
And I might boil some water as well.
Just all in, roll me 1d100, and Cryptilli, give me a survival check at disadvantage. Nice roll, Scriptilly. 1 and a 2.
You're welcome.
Just all in. As you're kind of setting up camp, keeping your eyes out, you see like almost like a full patch of juniper berries.
Lovely. I recall what I can do with juniper berries, so I'll definitely stash those and let my sister Cryptilly know that I found some finally.
As you look over, your sister's just shooting off necrotic energy into the snow, plumes of snow and ice being chunked up from the ground, looking for food but being unsuccessful.
Then again, I might hold off for now, but she'll know soon enough. And I'll begin brewing these. I think I can brew them maybe and then let them kind of ferment.
I do believe you have some empty brewing kits on you.
Yeah, hopefully I will have a bottle or something with my set.
Mm-hmm. I do believe that is part of it. The only thing I would like to mention at this time, it seems that there is not much time before the sun is completely set and where each of you would need to be huddled near some warmth at the bare minimum to survive. And Mevara has not made her return. With Mevara not making her way back to camp yet, what are the three of you going to do?
Well, first I would point it out to everyone's attention. She should have been back by now, right? It's getting dark and colder.
And I'll go, it is a little later than normal. And I'll look in that direction. And then I'll just start walking that direction.
Cryptilly, don't go. The last thing we need is 2 people lost. You don't even know exactly where you're going to look, and it's getting cold. Maybe pushing her luck a little bit this time, but I have faith that she'll show up. We can wait a little longer.
You're probably right, and I'll just shoot a chill touch into the sand or snow.
For now, let's just stoke up the fire and make it larger. Maybe that'll help guide her home. Or back to camp.
I'll use Vivek's staff right now too to make a little bit of extra light.
Making quite a bit of an extra amount of light in the area. Soon after, maybe 5-10 minutes pass, see Nix and Kitty return. See their pelts stained red with a bit of blood as they lick their chops and begin rubbing up next to each of you, kind of purring a bit.
Well, it seems they found something to sate their appetites.
They better not be far behind.
About another 10 minutes pass. You each begin to hear kind of stomping through the snow. As you turn and look, you see Mevara holding these two large bear legs, kind of trudging through the snow, making her way one slow step at a time.
As soon as I got visual contact on her, I'll immediately go and try and aid her.
For sure, I'll do the same, and I'll take some of the meat to lower the burden and give her my northern nose skin. Hopefully that'll help her warm up. And I'll tell her to go by the fire.
At this point, May, you are very, very cold, but you made it back just in the nick of time.
I'm like huffing and puffing, and I let them take the two, what, I don't know.
Polar bear legs.
Polar bear legs. And I say, thank you. There's so much more left. I could barely manage with this. But we'll feast tonight.
Indeed, we will.
Thank you, May, but don't push your luck so much next time.
You're right. Perhaps, well, I'll just try to bring home less meat next time. It's just against my very nature.
Just glad to have you back.
Or perhaps after you kill something, you can just come grab one of us and take the sled to retrieve it.
Okay, honestly, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I'll do that next time, sister.
Well, as each of you, Crix and Justalin, grab the hindquarters of this polar bear, each of you are quite surprised the amount of weight Mayvara was pulling along with her. But she is right when she says that each of you will be able to feast tonight, along with the dogs as well. In total, and just so each of you understand how I kind of came about this, polar bear weight, random roll, let it to be 425 pounds after rounding up. So, just to make it easy, dividing into 4, taking almost half of it back with you, roughly 210 pounds of meat after kind of carving it up and going about how you wish. So in total, what is it, 15 pounds for each of you to eat per day, including the dogs, or is it 12? I believe it was 12.
I think it was close to 12.
So roughly estimating, around 17 to 18 days of meat with just these parts. And as Mayvara had said, more is still back there. So just to make it easier, if you all wish, you can add a total of 18 rations and then split it amongst however you'd like.
That includes the dogs as well, within that 18?
So that'll include however you wish to split it amongst the party and the dogs, letting
Okay,
the
that's
dogs
total.
fend for themselves, however you want to go about it. But yes, in total. But 18's a lot.
Best hunt we've had in ages.
And there's more. We can go back tomorrow to butcher and preserve the meat. Then we'll have food for the dogs for quite a while.
And then I'll hold up the jug again.
Oh, well,
Anyone wants a meal with their meat?
I hate to be the bearer of bad news, because I had to get in on the bear pun here. But I was dividing it amongst weight, and not like rations. So if you're at 210 pounds roughly, right? And each ration is 2 pounds. That'll be roughly 100 rations to break out. The 17 was divided amongst the weight. Not the ration weight.
Okay, so I guess the question is, how many rations does our party plus our dogs eat per day?
How much do they eat per day? 12.
For our whole party, dogs and us?
Correct.
Okay. So, I mean, we're still looking at a little bit over a week's worth of food, which is great.
Yeah, 8.75 days worth.
A much needed boon.
I say keep it simple and split it evenly. We have 8 days worth, and if we need to get some more, we have that on standby.
I use my like water jug to wash my hands, and start butchering one of the back legs to feed the dogs, or just start distributing meat to the dogs, and
Got it.
hopefully somebody else. Maybe I give it to just Stalin, give him some meat for him to throw on the fire for us tonight.
Yeah, I'll cut it pretty thin because I'm sure some of it might be tough. I don't know how fatty that would be. I guess I imagine bear meat is pretty fatty, but I'll still cut it thin. Throw some spices on there. I have some cooking utensils, so I'll make do
It's one of those
without
meats
the
that's
mayo.
gamey and you have to cook it well.
Yes.
Yeah, I was wondering.
It's also a very oily meat.
Mm-hmm.
You all would know how to prepare this type of meat. You may not do it all the time while being in the castle of Blight, but you'd be accustomed to the natural resources in the area. But yes, it's a slight marblish, like purplish kind of meat. Bear meat, that is.
Very nutritious, not all that pleasant.
Never had it myself, but I've actually heard that it's pretty good.
I'm curious, kinda.
But as Crix had pointed out, this is a nice harvest, a pretty good gain in compared to recent past events. But this is going to take quite a bit of time to prepare, kind of ration out. So I will need a... Let's do a nature check from Mavara and one from Just Stalin. Wow! Each of you know how to go about it quite almost like identically. Pointing out some flaws from one another, but nothing that's too detrimental, and then you can go about carving it quite easily. Give me 2 leatherworking checks, or 1 each, I should say. Both of them will be at advantage.
And what do I roll for that?
If you don't have like a leatherworking proficiency, it's just your dexterity, dex roll plus your modifier. Or your dex modifier, I should say. Perfect. Well, you have advantage, but those are both great rolls.
It's a great roll day. We had a long rest. 3 weeks worth.
Just in case.
Yeah, I mean, basically a nat 20 check. And just all feel free to roll another dex check if you'd like. But at the moment, each of you can carve this out to near perfection. Just Allen's was just upgraded to perfection.
Holy hell. If that's a thing.
It is now.
I love to cook.
Fat boys.
So, in all fairness, May, yours doesn't need to be perfect as you're feeding some of the meat to the dogs, chopping it up, but making sure that each of them get exactly what they need. They all seem to kind of fight at first, but then once realizing that there's enough to go around, they seem to be quite calm. And you see them kind of returning back to a bit more of like a domestic state as when you'd first left Blight, when they all had very full tummies. Just Stalin, you cut this meat nice, thin, sear it on both sides, and even if it's tough and maybe not even pleasant to the taste, it is so much better than eating mayonnaise.
Yes.
That's okay. I know who will appreciate my mayonnaise. And I'm gonna go over and empty my contents of my container out into the dog's scrap where they're eating at. Um, like
They
giving,
thoroughly enjoy this.
yeah, giving like equal portions to all of them till the container's empty. Then I'm gonna sit and clean out the container.
Definitely smart giving it to the dogs.
Yeah. High fat content. And then I'm gonna change the contents.
So, with tonight being a very beneficial night, each of you can begin to get some rest, keeping your watch through the night. And to simplify this, how about all three of you give me a perception check? The only one who won't need to is just Stalin, since he is not part of the watch order. So as each of you complete your watch through the night, it might be a bit of relief to hear sounds of wildlife coming from the forest. You can hear the echoing of moose horns kind of clacking and ringing out through the area. You can hear growls, roars, and even some nearby footsteps of small game making their way in the distance just out of the light. But it is a very peaceful night, other than hearing the wildlife in the area. And as the sun begins to rise, each of you can continue your journey down the road south to Belkarth.
Noise.
Yes, the very common moose wolf.
Moose's howl.
Kinda.
I mean, some would call it more of a grunt, but they do it.
Yeah. I was thinking kind of more of like a grunt or maybe like a bark. But bark I don't think is a very good word for it either. Anything else that you guys want to do after setting up camp before heading south?
Do we want to take the time to go and grab the rest of that bear, or do we want to head south?
Let's grab that bear.
Yeah, let's grab that bear.
Talking about.
You want me?
At the minimum, it might make for a good trade somewhere.
Mhm.
I was thinking about trying to harvest the pelt. We might need to try and pass ourselves off as traders, although that would be a thinly veiled disguise at best.
Absolutely. Agree. We can also set up camp in the forest, hunt for a couple days, or I can just hunt as we make our way down and try to collect more pelts and things to ship to sell.
That is one thing we need to consider is what our group disguise is going to be, because from first looks, we don't look like anything except for wandering ne'er-do-wells, unless we're royalty. We're just an ill-equipped group of travelers stumbling through. We don't look like traders at all because we don't have goods. We aren't built like craftsmen, and we don't have tools for craftsmen. We don't really have any good reason to be traveling anywhere if we're in a disguise. That's going to be tricky for us.
Unless, I feel like Cryptili actually looks the most sort of recognizable as perhaps a religious person of some sort. Maybe
I-
we're followers or servants.
I thought about being Kreptili's bodyguards, as she's on some sort of holy journey as a priestess or clergyman or whatever she may pretend to be, but that would also require her playing along with that. And her idea of acting holy is not most people's. No offense, sister.
No offense taken.
I'm curious about any kind of I don't think refugees would be the right term, but people just trying to migrate away from danger. So I
Well,
wonder if we wouldn't be the only ones coming down south.
that would be beneficial, but if we do say that we're some sort of refugees or fleeing from some kind of danger, we need to be able to tell them what that danger is and what the situation in other places are that caused us to flee, and we don't have that information. We need a disguise that will have us have to answer as few questions as possible and be believable.
Well, we could pretend that we're, you know, the sons and daughters of some wealthy families in Blight. We escaped when the cloud descended on our town, and we're barely making our
And I'm
way.
kind that
The
was kind of my line of thinking, but we're also probably late as hell.
And the issue with that is we
The
don't know what the
timing,
actual situation there is. So the fact that
right?
we may have fled there, if they ask questions or know things that we don't, because they may have better forms of contact with Blight than we do, since we have none, they could outright then know that we're lying and distrust us immediately.
Either way, I guess we need to look like traders,
True, but I think that
if possible.
the simplest story and the one the most accurate to the truth, which will make it easy for us to sort of like build relationship with these folks, is to say that we are people from Blight who have been lost in the woods trying to survive. If we're sort of upper class, then uh, I think it's pretty easy to explain our clothing, the quality of our weapons, as well as the fact that we know how to hunt, um, as that was something that was like a big hobby for us, for me. But I just think it's the thing that's closest to the truth. And we can just explain that we've been lost and running from danger to danger throughout Zidane this whole time. And we don't know what's happening in Blight,
Which is also true.
which is the truth.
Exactly.
I think it's the simplest and also the one that's closest to our actual story.
That probably is our best option as it stands.
Mhm.
Okay, so are we siblings? Because I'm fairly certain we're gonna bicker like siblings.
I look a bit different, so I
I
could
think
be
traveling companions would probably just suffice.
perhaps.
Sounds good. Let's think of some names while we butcher and preserve this bear.
It takes you roughly about 20 minutes to get there with the dogs, going a slightly slow pace, and to make sure that you don't pass it. But you do spot the mound quite easily, May. And as the rest of you uncover it, you see that there's just over half a bear. To no surprise, the upper half. But with that said, each of you still have plenty of time to kind of iron this plan out. I guess in theory, you don't have to make your way there till it's ironed out, so...
Yeah, we can discuss it while chopping up some shoulder meat or something.
Yep. Whomever would like to participate in harvesting the bear, go ahead and give me a leatherworking check or a dex check. Feel like just Stalin's just showing off at this point.
Knife skills are working.
I don't know if there's a difference for you, Crix, but that was a dex save.
Oh, that was, wasn't it? It's the same.
Okay, just making sure.
I had hope for a second. I kind of just stabbed the bear.
Poke. But just Stalin's able to give you like a nice guiding hand. He seems to know how to do this fairly well. And points out some things here or there that kind of help you or prevent you from completely butchering the creature and making sure that enough meat is harvested. So with that in mind, just for simplicity's sake, again, we'll just say with the averages, you can add 100 rations to your inventory. So overall, minus what you gave up for the dogs and everything last night, which is just the 12, each of you should have, what is it, 188 rations in total?
Did we just become bear meat salesmen?
So not each of us, just like
In total.
In total, but that's still a lot.
And I was like, well, if we each have 188 pounds of meat, ooh. But obviously, the numbers, that doesn't make sense.
Which it does seem like a lot, but, you know, I took away a quarter of like roughly a quarter of the weight for what I would consider like unusable things, and then divvied up the rest. So, and then I kind of just rounded down from a couple things too. So I feel like it's pretty fair. It is a shitload of rations, but it's also a lot of weight that you have to kind of distribute as well. But on top of the rations, you can go ahead and add a large polar bear pelt. And whoever would like to carry that, feel free. Weighs roughly 25 pounds.
I can carry it.
So roughly just under an hour has passed as you load up everything and begin to continue south, still keeping a slightly steady pace in order to iron out the plan. You are making your way closer to Belgarth. And unless anything else is stated, what I'm going to do is just keep moving you along. Little by little.
All right, I think I have my My new name. We must remember to call each other by our aliases. But I'm thinking Phelan Olerin.
The closer these are to our actual names might help.
Yes, mine is Telegram.
That's so close to Creptillia, it's unbelievable.
Mine is Nostalgious.
I'll be Wilk.
Yes, but you can call me Faye.
I like the names.
There's no way we will mess these up at all.
At this point, the sun is just passing the peak in the sky, and as you look out in the horizon heading south, you see the skyline of Belkarth kind of poking its way above the southern horizon. Bit of a refreshing sight. You don't see any city walls, and the structures you see are made of stone and wood. The roofs made of wood with bits of snow draped upon them as you catch glimpses of the small village making your way further and farther south. As each of you get closer, another couple of hours pass, and you begin to see guards kind of patrolling the road leading in. At this point, can each of you give me a perception check as you begin to hear shouts coming from the guards? While keeping a bit of a slower pace, it is a little bit easier for each of you to hear what's being said. Crix, while it still seems a little bit muffled for you, as well as you, Creptilli, May and Justalin, each of you are able to hear out a familiar call that you've heard time and time before when approaching a village or city. Who goes there? Identify yourselves!
Hello there. My name's Wilk, and we're just some weary travelers looking for a little bit of respite.
See one kind of hold his crossbow at the ready, not aimed at any of you, but you can see this male elf definitely a bit prepared as the other kind of wields a spear. Slow those beasts down, whatever they be.
Of course, at once. I'll bring my dog sled to a near stop and get off and start walking beside of it.
As you all get a bit closer, you can see that the two guards kind of keep their distance from each of you. They move forward, but it's quite easily to see that they are a bit defensive. What'd you say your names are?
My name's Wilk, and my companions are Faye and Telgray. And would you like to introduce yourselves?
Yes, I am Nostalgist, and I'm sure our furry companions may disturb you a bit. We've been a bit innovative in trying to travel here. Times have been hard indeed.
The roads be closed. What are you all doing out?
We were unaware the roads were closed. We've been lost in the forest for quite some time.
Plus our sleds, that's what we're calling this get up. It's actually better for us when the road is snowed in. Easier for us to travel.
Where'd the beasts come from? They ain't from around here.
They're not. They were imported. We're from Blight originally, and we fled as things started to go awry. We've been fleeing from attack and attack, just trying to find some shelter and food.
What attacks do you speak of?
Well, we've run into aggressive gnolls. We've had animal attacks. What else?
We got ambushed by those bandits that one time.
Oh,
That
yeah.
went quite wrong.
That was before even anything had gone wrong. That was crazy.
We've had a long string of bad luck following us.
But I'm curious, have you all heard any news of Blight? Or the northern areas?
They kind of give you a bit of a look up and down. You see one beginning to talk to the other. And the slightly more slender male elf kind of pipes up. Blight? Seems a bit odd if you were able to get away from there.
We've been gone for quite some time. I don't know what might have happened there since we left, but please inform us if possible.
It's more like we were traveling when everything went down and we haven't been able to make it back.
You do have to understand, everything's been quite array since... I don't want to hold my cards too close to your eyes. We must be a bit protective of who comes in and who goes. I must need you to speak more clearly of your issues.
Well, we don't necessarily need to come into your town. It's understandable if you don't trust us, but might we camp here nearby?
Well, you each can come in, but I need to know exactly what you're running from. Bandits seem to have started this whole treachery for you. How long have you been in the forest?
Feels like we've been lost for months.
We're not necessarily navigators.
We've lost a few of our party that were. And up until last night, we were nearly starving to death, but we managed to bring down a bear. So, at the moment, we have a surplus of meat, but that's about all we have to our names at the moment.
At this point, can Justalin, Mevara, and Crix, can you give me a deception check?
What if we lied about?
I mean, we lied a lot about a lot of stuff.
I'll give you each another chance to come clean. What are you running from? Why do you come here?
I'm gonna look to May and give her kind of that look like we might as well just drop pretenses, tell them the truth, and if we need to leave, then we need to leave.
I look at Crix and I nod, and I say, okay, but before we tell you this, please believe me, we mean you no harm, and if you want us to leave, we'll leave.
And then exposition dump all of our troubles. Just pure honesty.
We're royal.
And after saying all that, I'll even take out my glaive and I'll just huck it away from myself in the snow.
Well, a bit to your surprise, as you're unveiling the truth, kind of just like splurging it out bit by bit, one after another, filling in some maybe like missed gaps here and there, completing each other's story. They look at you in a bit of a surprise. Not angry, but just purely surprised. Last we've heard, Blight still stands. Not sure how much was left, but we have had word that your father is still alive. Please, make your way in. However, not to be too much of a hindrance, but those beasts still need to stay at the stables.
That would be incredible. And I look to. I say, I can go get them established there and fed.
And I'll help you with that.
Thank you, sister.
Both the guards will assist you in which way to go, but they will be very respectful, giving you each like bows. But you notice them looking at Justalin a little odd.
I look at Justalin and I say, brother, as the most well-traveled and diplomatic of us, please find their leader. I believe their name is Ada?
Yeah, sure. Ada, however you'd wish to pronounce it, it doesn't matter to me.
I will speak to this adder. Hopefully it can provide us with some insight.
I'll accompany him as his escort.
Thanks, brother.
And I sort of give like a pointed look at the guards who were staring at Justalin.
And I'll tell them, I am but of a different lineage, just slightly. But my blood is still of you as well.
We don't really see many of our kind around here. And as you see them kind of like remove their helmets, you can easily notice that both of these guards are actually half-elf. Ears not as pointy or long as your siblings, and they're kind of short and still pointy, but a bit more rounded than your siblings, of course.
Well, you're more like me than I thought.
But here's what we'll do. We'll go ahead and take a small break, as it's probably a bit of a sigh of relief for each of you actually being welcomed into a somewhat of a safety area. from your previous experience, nearly every area you've been to the north has not welcomed you by any means. As stated earlier, pretty much being met with violence at each of them, or at least the warning of violence if approaching any closer. But as Cryptilli says, perhaps it is a trap. We'll find out. And we'll be right back in just about 5 minutes. welcome back, everybody. More Fight for Blight. As we continue on, each of you have been welcomed into Belkarth with pretty much open arms. Crix and Justalin have begun to make their way down as Mavara and Kreptili put the dogs away in the stables. Crix, Justalin, each of you notice that the road forks a little bit. Just around this building, you see a sign and hanging above a door. In the sign, you see a couple of berries, and they seem to be bouncing in and out of a tankard. Upon the top and the bottom, each of you can easily read the Bouncing Hops Tavern. But each of you can add your token to the map on either the east or west side of this building. Get a little bit more of the area for you. So as each of you can see, you find yourselves in the market square. Bit of a hustle and bustle, but there's not many individuals traveling about. You see more guards kind of standing and patrolling the area than anything. But what does catch your eye is a large gallows along the north side, just behind the Bouncing Hops Tavern. Upon it, you can see mostly decomposed skeletal remains. Bits of chunks of flesh still hang upon the ribs and a part of some of the bones and in the crevices where cartilage used to lie. Standing just at the foot of the stairs leading up to the top where these four skeletons hang, you see a large male elf. He is standing roughly 6.5 foot tall with short white spiky hair that seems to go down just the mid of the skull all the way down to the upper parts of his spine. And splint mail and a long sword. He stands and looks to each of you. Gives a slight smile. Well, seems that the royal family has made their way down to the pesky Belkarth. To what do I owe the pleasure?
It's truly our pleasure. But tell me, who are these unfortunate souls?
Traitors to the crown. Gives a bit of a bow. Malrune Roover at your service.
It's nice to meet you. What can you tell us about the situation with Blight?
What's there to say?
Treat us as if we know nothing about it.
The fog came. Somehow, Blight was able to stand better than the rest. Gives a look around, then kind of back up to the gallows. Some caved far too easy.
So it was
But
the
Blight
fog that's-
stands.
Did the fog come down this far south, or only to
has.
Blight?
But you remain unaffected?
gives a bit of a nod. And then, as I said, some of the others were too weak-minded. Numbers thinned quite rapidly. A lot fled to Blight. But a lot don't want to give up their homes, their livelihood, so they stay.
Yes, we were previously at Direfrost and received a rather violent welcome.
Yeah. Word sped that Lilera has fallen. And powerful cleric servants slaughtered.
We can confirm this to be true. We thought we had lost every ally we had.
To my knowledge, there's only a few that still stand. But the attacks seem to be more persistent as time goes by. How long have you all been away?
A long time. The last we heard from our father was that the fog had overtaken them, and that great hordes of people were turned.
What exactly is the date today? We've been out in the wild for a long time. We might not know exactly when this is. To the day, of course.
The 9th.
The 9th of...
June.
Holy fuck, it's been like a year.
Seriously? I thought it was like a couple months. Or you.
Yeah, it's only been a couple months.
No way.
Fucking year.
It's still 11:01 if that helps.
That does. For a moment I thought it had been even longer than I suspected.
No, it just seems we've been a bit lost for the month of May.
Do you know if Blight is besieged at the moment, or
And shakes
anything
his
of that
head.
nature?
It's fine. Some people may have succumbed to the fog, but most survive.
And those that have come to the fog,
He points to the gallows.
Is there no saving them once they've succumbed?
Not unless you're willing to take a few swords to the chest in the process. Unless, and I'm sure you do, know any more powerful magic, the only thing I can do is defend myself with my sword.
Then you have every right to do what you need to do to protect this place.
Well, enough chit-chat. I'm sure you would like to see Ida.
Yes.
Thank you.
He points down to the south, and as he does, states, "That's the exotic stag. That's where he went last. Sure he'll be in there drunk as ever. He'll be happy to see you, Justalin."
yes, I was thinking quite the same. But then again, in a position of power, that must be balanced out. We shall see soon enough.
Alright, and as you each make your way south, you can see that there's plenty of trades going on in the area. They all seem quite ecstatic to have some newcomers. See some of them, and hear some of them shout out, weapons, arrows, food, armor, and then only one call for shields. But as the smaller gnome looks over each of you, is a bit saddened to see that there's no shields.
Hey, I have a shield.
Not any that are of use.
Mm-hmm.
So where are these weapons? Well, actually, I can see that now. Right here.
Yeah, I'll. Well, no, I got arrows from May. I don't think I need any more.
I think I'm good, but I'm just gonna browse to see what kind of short swords they might have, or any other kind of finesse blades.
A couple of daggers and short swords. It seems to be more of like either a hunting or a tactful attacked kind of market. To the left of the vendor, you can see that there's a bunch of quivers with arrows and things of that manner.
Now, I do have my original short sword. I'm not sure if they'll want to purchase that. It's pretty standard. But if they want to add to their stock, I definitely have one.
So you look over the inventory and then ask for perhaps a bit of a trade. Or a purchase, I should say. The gentleman moves over to your side and says, perhaps I can offer you a bit of... As he scratches the back of his head, something a bit better. And from within the kind of tied up hair, the longish hair that's pulled up into a bun, you see him pull out a slight piece of parchment before tucking it back in.
And what exactly is that, sir?
The sword, and you shall know, he replies.
Well, it has served as dead weight before. Fine. We shall see. So I'll give him my sword. Because who has a piece of paper just tucked in their hair for no reason? I don't know.
We gotta know what that is.
As he gives you a bit of a wink, he
Yeah,
takes
it
the
does.
sword and hands you the parchment. It's a
But
rolled
he's
up
like
piece of
so
parchment
stupid
about the
about it.
size of your pinky, with a thin thread keeping it sealed.
Is Cryptilly nearby? Let me see. I'll make sure. I will ask her if she could do any detect magic. I think she can do that.
Yeah, I can do that one.
Just in case.
Yes. That's wise as ever. It seems like you may have picked up a thing or two from Varric.
Just a bit. Not too much.
And I'll take it from him. I'll say, just give me a little while with it. And I'll ritual cast detect magic.
At this point, can each of you give me a perception check?
Not paying attention, like always.
Well, each of your eyes are kind of wandering. It's pretty hard to ignore, and each of you can smell like death, just rot and decay. The wind has subsided, but the wind does carry this heavy, disgusting smell through Belkarth.
And I put on a slight grin.
No, this smell wouldn't be obviously coming from the gallows, would it? Does it
That's
seem
what I
more
was wondering.
omnipresent than that?
Very much so. It's not only coming from the gallows, but there has to be something more giving this pungent smell off as well.
Well, since I've already traded, can I ask him, what exactly is this before I open this?
Haven't you already given it to your sister?
Well, we haven't opened it yet, though, have we?
Not quite. Haven't opened it.
Well, he didn't seem too interested
I
upon
know
it,
this.
so maybe she will give you your answer.
You
Anything?
said the shop's mostly like finesse type stuff. There's nothing with some heft that would interest me.
Not here, but you do spot something down to the southwestern end that would be perhaps more of your style. You see plate armor, large axes, and two-handed weapons on display.
I'm gonna wander down here.
Sprint!
Because it might be a bomb. Like, we might have a bomb right now.
Straight up, everybody.
We're
just
smelling
goes
that sulfur.
I don't know. This isn't Naruto. Paper bombs aren't really a thing, are they?
So, are
Hope
you
not.
detecting magic, Cryptilly?
Yeah.
Okay. May, what are you doing? You can see that there's plenty of meat, fruits, vegetables. Bit to your surprise, some apples and berries. And then you can see that there's barrels of fish as well.
I'm very excited to see the fruit and vegetables, and I purchased enough apples for me and my siblings to share as a treat.
I can sell a crate for a gold. I'll keep you all plenty fed for a couple of days.
1 crate for a gold piece?
Aye.
Yes, I think when we're leaving, I definitely want to come see you.
Gives a bit of a smile. Crix, for you, as you look over the area, you can see that there is this beautiful elven female dressed in this elegant blue, purple, white gown, and seems just how you would say quite intelligent. She carries herself with quite a bit of confidence. Gives a slight smirk as you make your approach. Well, welcome to my shop. I hope you can find my wares quite useful. What is it that you're looking for? Heavy armor? Something better than the glaive? Perhaps?
Potentially. I'm not much of a haggler, so if we could cut to the chase and you could just show me the best you've got, I'll see what we can do.
Nothing too much of wares that you may be more accustomed to, but a nice set of plate armor grabbed from some of the guards from Direfrost. And she gives a bit of a laugh. You have some two-handed swords, axes. Some would even call them great. But as you look over the wares, nothing seems like immaculate. They all seem to be very average.
Are there any two-handed hammers?
She nods. Aye, I have a few. What would you prefer? Iron, steel, or obsidian?
What would your recommendation be? Weight is not much of an issue. I can heft just about anything.
Well, what are you looking to hit? Strike a few spikes into the frozen ground? Or perhaps more of a precision attack. She kind of like takes her fist and knocks it against her head.
Not to be crude, but I'm looking to shatter some bones.
Well, the obsidian would be more for finesse. I would suggest the steel. Durable, not too heavy, but it'll get the job done.
That sounds fine. How much?
5 gold pieces.
Sold.
Crix, as you kind of are looking over the wares, you do catch out of the corner of your eye where this stench is coming from.
And where might that be?
More off to your east.
That is not great. Okay.
And then a bit more off to the east, you can see where the exotic stag is.
What happened to them, those people over there?
Traitors! You hear Malone pipe up.
Well, if we've got our shopping done, let's head to that tavern.
Yep, and as soon as that 10-minute passes for detect magic.
You sense illusion magic.
Don't say, probably a little magic here, but nothing that should hurt you.
Illusion. Or did you tell me it was illusion magic? I don't want to presume.
Yeah,
that.
I did.
Okay. I'm not that damn good. I'll wait a little while to open this. Maybe tonight. Worst case scenario, I could sleep it off.
Oh, come on. Don't be a chicken now.
Yeah, open it up.
You traded a sword for a mysterious scroll. You gotta open it.
Well, if I end up loopy, you better take care of me.
Don't we always?
Yeah.
Don't we always end up loopy?
All right, I'm gonna open it up and see what this is. Traded my damn short
And I'm gonna
sword.
take a few steps back.
Yeah, please do. If I
Well,
go out like this.
just before each of you enter the exotic stag, each of you can hear this party seemingly taking place inside the tavern. And as each of you move away a few steps from Justalin, you undo the twine and unravel the piece of parchment. And there's nothing there.
Ah, so what was the magic? The illusion magic.
It's probably an illusion that hides what's written there somehow.
Oh.
But that's just a guess and kinda meta.
Yeah, meta for sure. Either way, I'll stick it in my pocket. I'll be damned if I just got a piece of paper that meant nothing for a sword. So, me being stubborn or meta, I'm keeping it.
So what's it say?
Oh wait, can I read something on it, or I thought it was invisible to me right now?
This is me as
It's
Tilly
blank.
accent.
It's blank. Okay.
I wanted to know if you told us it was blank.
And I was just double checking Discord to make sure I didn't see something. So blank, blank.
But illusion magic was sunstonic, correct?
Right, and I would hope it wouldn't be for no reason. So
Unless the parchment itself is an illusion.
That is true, but it could just be the contents are hidden from view with the illusion magic or something. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe you got grifted by some random weapon peddler.
matter doesn't exist. The parchment is not there. That's what I got just now. There is no parchment.
That would be funny. Oh god.
But yeah, I'm gonna keep it for now until I become smart enough to know how to deal with this.
Yeah, if you told me it was blank, I have some ideas for you.
We'll work on it.
Alright, well, making your way inside the tavern, each of you are met with the pleasant sound of music, some flutes, violins, and a couple of lutes playing along as you see some bards upon the stage giving a quite pleasant performance. A fire dwells in the middle of the tavern, giving a nice bit of warmth as you see quite a bit of walks of life making their way through the tavern. Without there being that many individuals, there seem to be quite a plethora of races amongst the area. You do spot a couple of humans, elves, half-elves, and even some dwarves and gnomes as well. As you make your way up to the bar, you do see a dwarf with long, shaggy orange hair and a pretty ruffled up, tangled beard that hangs just above his gut. As he's polishing a tankard, he looks at each of you and says, "Alright, welcome to the Exotic Stag. What can I get you?"
I could use an ale more than you could ever know.
Same.
And wine for me if you have it.
I'll take something dark.
What do we have?
Preferably
Some
wine.
goodness up from there, but the wells are getting a bit dry. But thankfully we still have some of the berry. Some of the cider as well. But if you're looking for something dark, it's unfortunately gonna have to cost you extra.
I'll start with the wine and see how we go from there.
Nods.
Maybe you could trade your magic paper for some good ale. Or some good stuff.
Magic paper, you say?
We do have some. What do you know of it?
He shrugs. You tell to me. I know nothing about magic.
I'll keep my magic paper for now and just spend my coin.
A couple of silver pieces will do you well.
And I'll give him 3.
So what you here for? Leaving the comfort of the castle and making your way all the way down here to Belkarth. Mine wonders why.
We're here to speak to Ada, where might we find him?
Gives a nod over to the table, where you see a pretty well dressed elf. However, while he does wear this immaculate kind of garment, you do notice that there are some stains kind of resting upon the shoulders. His right hand holding a tankard, this short brown hair kind of like combed over to the side to look somewhat nice, but still kind of fraying up to be a bit messy. Head down on the table. That's him. Hasn't been the same since the fog.
It's been hard on all of us. Can you fix me a cup of tea or something to bring him?
It'll be a minute. Have to put the pots on.
Thank you. I would offer some more ale, but I don't know. Doesn't seem like I could use more.
You have to cut him off sometimes. Gives a bit of a shake of his head. Malone doesn't like the way he drinks.
Thank you.
This should prove interesting indeed.
Sets a couple of goblets of wine on the table, or the bar just in front of you, and says, "The tea will be right up."
Well?
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say to my siblings, what's our angle here?
I say a cheers to Ada, and we go right up and introduce ourselves. That might sober him up enough for a conversation.
All right. I'll follow your lead, Jasalin, since you know him.
Wait, do I know him or of his type?
Bit of both. Each of you know Ada. It's just not very well. Around the same age, and kind of around the same age as you, May. With his father passing away a few years ago, each of you know he's just kind of being groomed to be the speaker of Belkarth. Malone is kind of the head in charge at the moment till your father gives him the word.
Cool. So going to Ada now, right?
Each of you make your way up, kind of find yourself at home sitting around the table. See Ada's head kind of poke up, an eye slowly kind of opens, looking at each of you. Stalin? Is that you?
Ah, you're not mistaken at all, my friend. The children of Exarch have come to share a cup and other things.
Kind of holds the tankard slightly above the table. Says, "So, what's the siblings here for?"
The same reason I am. We're traveling, and it's been a long road. I'm sure you've known of the fog amongst other things, and what's resulted.
You see the slight smile he had kind of perish. Yeah. The fog.
Grim news, I know. But what have you experienced?
Individuals gone crazy once the fog set in. Gives like a little bit of a look around. And then kind of says in like a small whisper, they wanted to see each of the royal family dead. And he shakes his head, puts like his eyes towards the table. They had to be taken down by the sword.
Aye. So tell me, is the effect constant, or have things subsided ever since?
seems quiet. When the fog sets in, it doesn't seem to bother too many. Maybe one or two fall. At first, it was nearly half. Now, just a few individuals seem to succumb.
And as we've heard, Blight still stands. Is that correct?
Only a few remain. And then he kind of looks at each of you and says, "How do you not know this? Where have you been? There's a
North.
war amongst the Dane breaking out."
Our father sent us away on a quest to retrieve some objects he thought would be helpful in that war.
And knowledge.
We haven't been able to get close to Blight in the past when we tried because of the fog.
I'm sorry to hear that, but it seems that Zidane has found itself quite divided. Only the cities to the south and Blight seem to still stand, but the numbers dwindle week to week. Those who have survived and were willing to take their chance have made their way to Blight. I'm not sure how many made it.
So there are efforts to gather at Blight. That's the goal.
From what the stories say, the fog seems to be less effective there, if effective at all.
And the fog periodically comes down over the region. It moves.
He shakes his head, yes. Unfortunately, it seems to bounce off Blight with little effect, and once it does, it makes its way south quite rapidly. Direfrost seem to take the most of the burden. I'm not sure what's exactly left of Genesis, but I know Baragama stands strong, but their numbers were small to begin with.
Have you all figured out any way to resist the fog?
Kinda like tilts the tankard of ale towards you, and then takes a sip.
Too much of that, and I guess you don't need the fog, do you?
Have you heard anything of the source of the fog?
Rumors come from all over. I don't know what's true. All I know is that it comes from the north.
We were fortunate not to catch any of it on the west side. It seems to go from the northeast to south from there.
North Point and Windhelm had fallen quite some time ago. From what I understand, forces are starting to gather at the stronghold.
Loyal forces or fog forces?
Looks at you. What do you think?
Just wanted to be clear.
So, do you think you could help us get to Blight with the timing of the fog or perhaps something to help us resist its effect?
don't know what to do. Malone has kind of taken the reins.
Malone?
I believe that's the person we met at the gallows.
Yeah, I didn't quite catch his name completely. Thanks.
At this point, while talking to Ada, you see this like trickle of blood start to come from the right nostril. He wipes it away and kind of like smudges the blood against his shirt. Takes another sip of ale.
Can I do an insight check on to see if he's affected by, I don't know.
Sure. Go ahead and give me an insight check. You feel that there's a few things being held back. But you're not sure of what. You can go ahead and give me a perception check. Alright, thank you. Ada looks at each of you. What do you think needs to be done? How can we stop it?
We must stop it at the source. We're not sure. We've heard some stories that perhaps there are ice giants that are the source of the fog.
The
If that were
giants have
true-
been extinguished for years. Your family's the one that's been rid of them.
Old problems have their ways of resurfacing.
But what about this? And May hands him a handkerchief to wipe his nose. Is this an effect of the fog?
As he wipes his nose, you can see him give a little bit of a flinch, and it says, perhaps.
I turn to Cryptilli and I say, I ordered some tea from our barman here. Will you help me retrieve it, sister?
Of course, and I'll give her a semi curtsy.
Excuse us, gentlemen. As we head over to the bar to see about that tea, I want to try to whisper, something's off. Can you detect any magic? Anything on any spell on him?
On who?
On Ada, when we get back to the table. Do you think you can do it without raising suspicions?
I could try, but I can't make any promises.
All right.
Aye. The water's beginning to boil. Needed a moment. Just a brief moment, and it'll be ready.
Lovely, thank you. I'll have another ale while we wait.
And
Gives a nod, starts pouring a tankard.
as we're waiting, I'll try to detect magic and trying to concentrate it on that smaller range.
Are you going to try to do it discreetly, or do you not care?
Yeah, I'll try to do it discreetly.
All right. Can you give me a sleight of hand check? Surprisingly, while you do draw the attention of all your siblings, no one else seems to notice this at all. Everyone seems well into each of their drinks and into their conversations. Full discretion, I rolled 4 dice. I rolled a 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 5. That was pretty bad.
Wow.
No one gives a shit.
They was just like, yeah, bro, you do you, little cleric lady.
And a couple moments later, your tea's set before you. There's a wedge of lemon. Sugar? Anything else?
That's lovely, thank you.
Gives a nod. And be 5 copper.
I hand it to him.
Begin to make your way back. But during this time, are Crix or just Stalin asking any other questions?
You ever heard of magic paper being sold in this place?
He laughs but shakes his head. No, no, I haven't.
Fuck me.
Look, I know things seem bleak right now, but we are going to do everything we can to fix things.
What was that, Crix? I'm sorry.
Huh? No, I was just rambling.
We were just trying to be optimistic.
Even though we're barely clawing our way out of a mess.
Like a crazy potential civil war, as it seems.
Yeah, I just get the feeling this guy's being crushed by the weight of leading his people, and he needs a pat on the shoulder and a kick in the butt, but I hardly feel like the person to do that right now. It'd feel very hypocritical.
Yeah, May's bringing the tea. He'll be okay.
May, Cryptilli, as both of you make your way back to the table, your detect magic will go off, Cryptilli, and you sense a stronger bit of illusion magic. Some coming from Ada, and also the sense coming from just Stalin's paper. But the sense from just Stalin's paper seems to be fading. Not as strong as it once was.
Hmm. I'll try to swipe the paper from Just Stalin and take a look at it.
I was thinking of wiping his nose with the paper and putting his blood on it.
No, I would try to swipe that
But
from
that's
his mouth.
messy. That's messy.
Just Stalin, I need a perception check. Cryptilli, you snag the paper, no problem.
Sweet. As I do, I'll just continue talking and say, there could be something, and I'm not 100% sure, but let me take a look of this. While I mull this over. And I'll Oh, sorry, I stopped pressing the button. I'll turn slightly from just stalling so he doesn't see me immediately. But like I'm not trying to be super sneaky about this part. But I'll cast Sacred Flame and try to keep it super light, like in my hand, and put it up to the paper and see if anything shows up.
Nothing shows up.
And then I'll go with
But
the.
as you hold like the radiant energy to the paper, I mean, nothing happens.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I know it's not real fire anymore, but I always have to try it because it's the only thing I can do. um, so then I would ask Ada if there's been anything, um, like any time that he's been alone with someone, or if he feels okay.
I'm fine. Why do you ask?
Um, it simply seems that you may be going through something in such a hard time. And I want to make sure that you have someone that you can talk to.
Well, I mean, of course, with what's going on, it does weigh upon one's soul, but you'll have to rise to make a choice. Our choice has been to stand with the Blight.
May's gonna like serve some tea to everybody and then slice up two of the apples she bought and like reach over and offer him some apple slices.
He takes one.
I suppose what we're asking is, do you feel quite alright? Is there? It's not normal to have a nosebleed like that.
I mean, things have been rough, but it's fine. And as he kind of like puts his head down, like looking away from each of you hear the door to the tavern open, and you see Malone and a guard beginning to make their way in. Malone gives each of you a smile and a wave as he makes his way over to the table, pulls up a chair sitting next to you, each of you, and then gives the dwarf a wave. "Ale!" he shouts. "Well, see, each of you have found yourselves quite a bit of home." He puts a hand on Ada's shoulder, gives each of you a smile. "Just a bit of wine and tea? Ha! Figured each of you would have a bit more of a heavy drink."
We're trying to keep our wits about us still. We've learned some more about the fog from Ada. We'd love to be able to get back to Blight. Do you think you could help us?
"Supplies are tight."
Not necessarily supplies as much as expertise.
"The forest seems to be the quickest transfer. Stay off the roads. At least till you get to Knissus, then the road Straight past the Blight.
Yes, but what about the fog?
He shrugs. And if it comes, it comes. From the looks of it, each of you know how to deal with it a bit more. Said that you were up in the north, spending quite a bit of time there.
Yes, but it almost killed us when we encountered the fog.
And what did you do? Dwarf comes, sets a few tankards of ale down on the table.
We had to incapacitate and tie up those of us who were taken down by the fog.
And it can be dispelled, correct?
Right, we were accompanying a priestess, and so she was actually able to dispel the effect, though it was quite difficult.
No? How did she do that? You see Ada kind of like looking a bit more intrigued. Yeah. How did that happen? You were able to deter the effects. Ada, shh. The adults are talking.
Not to overstep, but please don't treat him like a child.
With all due respect, he is. Just as much as each of you.
I'll
Maybe to one day be a leader, he needs to be involved. Teaching him to shy away from responsibility is not a way to breed a good leader.
Neither is in entering any type of conversation when under this type of influence. A leader needs to be distinguished, such as your father. Do you think that he would come to court under this type of condition?
No, but he would also not shy away from it because of some condition. If there's work to do, then there's work to do. He didn't know we were coming or we'd be here.
Fair. Well, what's your point?
Do you have anybody, a temple, the priestess, anybody who's wise in those ways?
It shakes his head. Closest one's Baragama.
And who might that be?
I gotta look deep into some notes here for a moment. Hold on. Wrong map.
Tell me,
The
Melon.
shaman is all that I can remember.
Wonderful. But tell me, Melon, what's your secret to resisting the fog, other than just your strong will and strong mind?
Faith. Your father's seen us through some difficult times. He'll see us through this. North Point's always been a pain in the ass.
Are you able to communicate with Blight, or have you received communications from Blight?
I have my sources. Gives just all in a little bit of a look. Magic papers. Then chuckles, taking a sip of the ale.
You know more than you're letting on?
You'll see when you see. Well, why so quiet?
Just enjoying the warmth of this tavern and thinking about our next move, you know?
And what might that be? The guards have said that you told them some story that you've been saying in the forest for a few months. Be crazy if that were actually true. More believable of what you all been doing. Setting out. Your father sending you away. In order to find... what? To help? Something to help?
Something to help or something to kill.
True, we were also trying to investigate some other strange phenomenon that we've encountered before the fog. It seems like Cillian the dragon is hunting in a much wider area of Zidane than we thought.
Nods. I've seen Cilium off to the horizon. Seems to come down to Direfrost even from time to time. Ada speaks up. Yeah. It seems that the southern mountains where the gnolls reside, they seem to be hiding well enough in order for Cilium to need more food, feasting upon those in Direfrost. Sure, still as well as North Point.
That's another issue, is the conflict between the gnolls right now.
And don't forget about that damned orb that seems to have displaced Cilium.
That's right, there's a mysterious orb floating in the sky.
What orb? This Ada looks a bit intrigued as well.
It's an orb the size of a city that may or may not have other dragons flying around it. It's on, oh, what's the name of that island?
It's on the only island that we know of.
That's not true. We're on an island.
We're on an island, but the smaller island, it's just off of North Point.
It's part of North Point's territory, if you wish to divide it that way. That's where it's said for Cilium to be.
Except we've seen him pretty far west in the middle of the island. And we think we've seen multiple flying creatures. Large flying creatures.
Well, they'd have to be large from as far away as we saw them.
I saw you just, Alan! You look so confused.
Dude, no, like my phone is being like so random. I'm up here trying to like cook a burger and type and multitask, and my phone keeps like trying to take an image of me doing it all. Back in character, I'm gonna be like, where the hell is my paper at? And I'll start like looking around on the floor because I thought about trying something. So hopefully, if anyone does have it, they'll let me know.
Nudge, nudge.
Oh. I'll just keep it in front of me, trying different things out on it.
And I'll tell Ada, I want to hand it to Ada, or I will ask you to see if he can read it, and if not, we have to figure out what's going on with this paper because it's gonna drive me crazy.
we, we
We
do
got
like
3 minutes.
we do like a good mystery. So, um, oh yeah, I wanted to try one more thing. I just forgot.
All right.
Uh,
Not let his drunk ass try to do something that doesn't work. I might try to do dispel or something. I
yeah,
don't know.
I did want to hold it up to a real flame. Yeah, I just
Oh,
forgot to
well,
say it.
it's not too close.
So if there's like a candlelight or something in the tab, I'll go up to that and see if we can bring any type of like illusion out of it or image out of it.
All right, sent you what you see.
It's a blank message.
So blankety blank blank.
Well, fair enough. Um, not sure. Oh, that makes way more sense. I was like, I'm not sure.
I wanted to make sure I spelled it right.
Okay, I was like, I'm not sure who gave me this message, but it's a pretty cool message. And
Care to share?
I'll walk up to just Stalin, and I'll let him know that I'll just say Uncle Vic says Blight is fine. The mountains are source, and heat will prevail over ice.
The mountains are source?
To me, that says we need to go to the Stokelet Mountains and kill something.
That's what I heard.
Yeah, from what I picked up on. You said blight is fine, and then shit.
Mountains are source. Heat
Mountains are source,
will
yeah.
prevail over ice.
So
Oh,
we
for
need
sure. For
fire and we
sure.
need to kill what's in the mountains.
Yes.
To stop the fog, of course, which you kind of knew already. We're just
You know,
dancing around it.
we like to do stuff the long way. We're taking the long
Yeah.
way home with Bobby Nichols.
I was
So
just hoping we would acquire enough light or fire for the frost giants, but we'll make do.
Yeah, I've been trying to get some kind of fire spells. So
any of you
Right, right.
turn into a sorcerer?
no.
Ada pipes up. What does that mean?
Oh,
The
what?
mountains
Nothing.
are the source.
Probably of the fog.
Frost giants, or snow giants, or ice giants, or
Or
cold
Cilium.
giants.
Or where our brother is. I mean,
Or possibly where my brother is.
or like 9/10 of him.
Minus a hand.
He's been disarmed, but he's probably alive.
Literally disarmed. How disgraceful.
Happens to the
That would
best
be
of
the
us.
worst.
Well, what do you say we stay here, get a quick rest, or, a long rest, for a few days, hunt, so we can prepare for this journey to the mountains?
What do you need to prepare for? We have food here. Malone, don't we have food extra stock? Barely enough to get us our guards by. There's lucky to be enough to go around.
There's some salted or smoked fish, and I'm good to go.
We don't need to be a burden on them. If we just stay here for a few days to hunt and rest, I'm sure we'll be more than enough. We'll have more than enough supplies. What do you say, sister? Brothers?
I'm with you, team lead.
Yeah, I say we recoup some of our strength and then we go to the mountains.
Yes, a a day or two of full meals, and I think that a journey to the mountains would be fine. And I agree with you, Just Stalin. Maybe swapping some of this bear meat for some fish or smoked fish, and we should be just fine.
Let's
I'm
also
sure they wouldn't
make
mind the
sure,
exchange.
let's not just trade meat for fish. Let's add some vegetables in there too.
Would we be able to get some flasks of fish oil?
He shakes his head. Of course, we'll pay for it from our treasury. Whatever you think that will be able to help. Calm down, Ada. We don't know if this is actually even going to work. We still have to be thoughtful with our rations. We'll give
Yeah,
what we can, but we can't leave Belkarth in short supply.
of course. We don't want to save Blight by destroying Belkarth.
And Ada, I do appreciate your willingness to help. I shall remember this.
This shaman in the south in Baragama, what kind of magic do they do?
Same as your sister, as he gives the nods toward Crypt Hilly. Sometimes holy.
So probably not a way for us to acquire fire or more firepower.
If fire's what you need. Fish oil lights well, but perhaps even just some oil for lanterns as well. Spread it about.
Hmm. Yes. I've always wanted to dabble in making bombs.
What are those?
Hmm. Vows that we might put oils in, set them aflame, and watch them burn. And I'll give out a very creepy smirk.
Do you have an armorer that we could work with?
Nods. The lady outside does well with some suits of armor. Able to fix, reforge some of the plate from the guards that came down here from Direfrost.
And then do you have a blacksmith perhaps? Someone we can work with to
Oh, yeah,
perhaps.
that's her.
Okay, wonderful. Creep Tilly, do you want to own that?
Mm, mm. What are you asking me?
Creep Tilly and Crix, will you work with the craftspeople here of Belkarth to try and come up with some of those innovative ways to bring fire into combat? I'll concentrate on hunting and collecting food.
I'll
I
do what I
thought
can.
you'd never ask.
Well, it seems like each of you have a plan. And Malone gives Ada a pat on the back, and as he does, Cryptilly, can you give me a perception check at advantage? I have to be getting back to the guards. Finnet polishes off his tankard of ale, pushes it towards the center of the table. then moves on. Cryptilli, for a brief moment, you believe that you saw Ada's nose a bit crooked and his eyes both blackened. With this is where we will call tonight's session. And we'll get back to it hopefully next week.
Hell yeah. We got a note from our people.
We got direction.
We
Exactly.
got instructions.
We now have clear-cut goal. Oh, that's so uplifting.
Feels so good. There was a second where I definitely thought Belkarth was just like a death trap full of like dead bodies where I was like, please no, I can't handle it.
It is full of dead bodies, but they're all bad guys.
Yeah, that joint
Well, we
crazy.
didn't smell that. Like a
Tragic,
mile away.
guys.
Yeah. But good week back.
Yeah, this was a lot of fun.
After trying a couple of cities, it does seem that the smaller villages down to the south seem to provide some sort of safe haven. From the information learned, it does seem that only Belkarth, Baragama, Genesis, and Blight remain somewhat sane and preventing whatever the green fog is causing. Did you know it does make it quite hostile towards each of you, but I guess some of more of the parameters and details are still a bit unknown. However, as you stated, finally getting some sort of information, just Stalin finally utilizing his trainer, his mentor, if you will, to get some information.
And he didn't even know he was doing it.
Nope.
Didn't even know.
Just kind-hearted person. Like, all right, I'll take a piece of paper for the sword.
Right. Jeez.
Good thing we didn't
That's
burn
great.
that paper needlessly.
No.
Oh, so.
Or give it away for some damn beer.
We
That
are
would've
quite
been
adept at
hilarious.
shooting ourselves in the feet.
But I'm glad each of you had a good holiday time off of playing D&D. I know, like, personally, it was a good recharge for me. I kind of wrote out like a couple of other like stories I want to get into, but I really need to finish like everything that's current time from the stories that I've done and develop a few things from that point. But I'm glad that each of you also had fun tonight, and I hope that we can get back to it next week.
Looking forward to it.
Sounds good.
Yep,
Yeah.
we'll be
Same.
here.
All right. Good night, everybody.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Later.